What's up, Pirates? Wraith and Jim here with AwakenedTCG, and today we're back with the color purple. We're going to be going over these cards. We won't touch on these leaders as we have already, but if any of these cards can relate to the leader or, combo effects, we'll definitely talk about it. Let's go ahead and get right into it.
Yep, so a lot of these purple cards, as you can see, are all mostly Germa cards. A couple film, but they all are going to be for this Vin Smoke Ru leader. We're just going to go over it real quick. Not going to talk about it. It's just whenever you send a Dawn back from your field to your Dawn deck, you're going to draw a card. But number one here, we've got Vin Smoke Ich. Ich is a 4/4 with a 1000 counter and the Germa 66 and Vin Smoke family archetype. His effect is going to be activate main. You can do Dawn -1, and then you can put this character in your trash, and if your leader is a Germa 66 type leader, you can play up to 1 cost 7 Vin Smoke Ich appear from your hand or your trash. So you can actually grab it from your trash and not lose hand advantage, which is actually really strong. But we cannot really rate this card until we look at its counterpart. Right next to it is Vin Smoke Ich, all suited up in his Germa 66 outfit. And he's just going to be a 7 cost, 7,000 power on play. If you have less Dawn on your field than your opponent does, you can give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power, and then this character is going to get Rush. So, kind of like a weaker ace, but obviously it's an ace that you can play for 4. So definitely
Pretty
interesting.
strong.
Yeah, no, not bad at all, especially since you can play it from the trash. Playing stuff from the trash is really good because you can intentionally put it there with things like Queen and set up these plays for later.
Yeah, I agree. I think this card, being able to play it, if it's in your hand on curve at 4 Dawn, right, you go down to 3. But then it puts you onto the 5/7 curve, which is not too bad. And then you obviously get this 7/7 because, half the time, or maybe not half, maybe more, like 9 times out of 10, you're going to be at less Dawn since you just Dawn -1. So you're going to get the rush. So now it's a 7/7 rush on your 4 Dawn turn, which feels pretty insane.
Very, very strong and a great card to clear boards for sure. Next up, we've got Vin Smoke Judge. Going to be the SR of the Vin Smoke archetype, along with the Reiju we're going to look at later. But Judge is going to be an 8 cost, 8,000 power character. And on play, you can Dawn -1 and discard 2 cards from your hand. And you can grab up to 4 characters with 4,000 power or less and Germa 66 from the trash and play them onto the board. So this includes your, you'll be able to play these. You won't be able to play the stronger versions, but you'll be able to play the weaker versions of the Germa 66 characters. And then he also has activate main once per turn. You can do Dawn -1, and you can put one of your opponent's Dawn cards to rest, which is kind of random, kind of weird, but it'll come in handy sometimes.
Yeah.
So, this card is kind of weird because it requires you to have a ton of setup. You need to have all of, I don't think this is worth it unless you have 2 or more of these cards in your trash. Like, you're going to need Ichiji, you're going to need Niji, all these ones we're going to look at in a bit. But just the amount of setup this requires, I don't think this is going to be very consistent because you need the weaker version to get from the trash, and then you also need the stronger version to upgrade them into to make it worth it in the first place. Just a whole massive combo here that just requires too many moving parts, in my opinion.
Yeah, like you said, it is a big combo. It relies a lot on making sure you have the right cards in your hand. It's kind of like a film Luffy. When you play Luffy, you want to have that Brook, you want to have that 3-drop. And sometimes you don't always have it, and it is kind of hard to get it unless you can really search for them. So we're going to have to wait and see how well this actually performs. But the effect is good. Like, if you have the combo, it's really good.
Oh, yeah. This can literally go your board from 0 to 5 instantly. And then, obviously, they can all suit up. That's going to be a ton of Dawn minus, but you're going to have a very threatening board and a ton of strong effects coming in all in one turn if you do end up doing that. Next up, we've got Vin Smoke Sora, a Vin Smoke and Germa type character with 2,000 counter. So if you can search these guys, which you can, which we'll see later, this is going to be your 2K. And it's going to be on play. you can discard one card from your hand, and if you have less Dawn or equal Dawn as your opponent does on their field, you can add up to one character from your trash that has 4,000 or less into your hand. So drawing from your trash, choosing any of your 4,000 or less characters with the Vin Smoke family keyword. Not bad at all, I don't think. Especially for a 2K. A 2K that draws you is always going to be good, especially one that's searchable. So I like this card a lot.
Yeah, it allows you to do a play where like you can have your 4-drop into your 7-drop play, and then boom, if they die, you can play this, grab your 4-drop again, and play the 4-drop. You get the 7-drop from trash, right? So it looks like you're gonna be recycling a lot of your units with Germa.
And a great searchable 2K at that. Next up, we've got Vin Smoke Nii, number 2 in the crew. This is going to be a 3-cost, 3,000 power with 1,000 counter, the Germa 66 and Vin Smoke family keywords. And it is going to be activate main. You can do Dawn -1. And it's going to be the same thing. You get to put this guy in the trash. If your leader is Germa 66, you can play one Vin Smoke Nii with a 5-cost appear from your hand or your trash onto the board. So obviously another one that we can't rate without looking at his counterpart right next to him. It's going to be another Vin Smoke Nii, 5-cost, 6,000 power with 1,000 counter. And on play, if you have less Dawn or equal Dawn to your opponent's field, you can choose one of these 2 effects. Okay, so the first effect is going to be you can KO one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. Honestly, for a 5-drop, pretty weak, but not terrible. And the next one is going to be you can put one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less to its owner's hand. So flexible. I love the flexibility. Flexibility on any card is going to be really good. But honestly, I think the numbers are too low. Like, it's good. Like, you can get it off this 3-drop, right? You can go for 3 and then play a 5/6, which is honestly already really good. And then just adding these effects onto it, even if they're kind of weak, like, it still seems decent.
Yeah. I just wish it was a 5/7, maybe no counter. Like you said, you're playing a 3-drop and it's a 3/3. That 3/3 is useless. You basically get 1 unit. And if it's not early, like super early, this 5/6 later on, it just feels kind of bad.
But this card late game's not like doing anything. You can get rid of a blocker if you're going for game, maybe. That's about it.
That's 5 Dawn, right? It's still feels bad.
Well, I don't think you're ever playing this for 5. Like, I think you're.
Oh yeah, you can play it for 3.
Right, and if you already have them on board, it's just a Dawn -1. But still, it is a combo that is reliant on each other, right? This card won't be good without this card, and this card will be completely useless without this card. So, again, a lot of moving parts that you need to draw not only 1, but 2. So, definitely needs to be consistent and will need a good searcher. There is no doubt about that. Next up, we've got Vin Smoke Yonji. Yonji is a 2-cost, 2,000 power with 1,000 counter.
We're making a video. Fuck off.
Oh.
Restart it.
And next up is Vin Smoke Yonji. Yonji is a 2-cost, 2,000 power with 1,000 counter. Another Vin Smoke and Germa 66 archetype. Going to be activate main. As we've been talking about, it's going to be the Dawn -1. You can put him in the trash. If you have a Germa 66 leader, you can bring the 4-cost Vin Smoke Yonji from your hand or trash onto the board. So here is the 4-cost that is in question. It is going to be a 4/5 with 1,000 counter. And if you have less Dawn on your field, less or equal Dawn than your opponent does, this character is just going to get 1,000 power, and then he also has blocker all the time. So a 4/5 blocker all the time, and then if you have less Dawn, which you probably will, he's going to be a blocker. So a 4/6 blocker with counter seems really strong, especially for the fact that you can play it for 2.
Yeah. I think this card is going to be really good. Definitely a lot better than the last combo we saw. Yeah, it's like a 4/5 Sanji stat line. No trigger though, but obviously it's not yellow. Yeah, I think this is a good card.
Yeah,
definitely a better combo for sure from the ones we've seen.
Better combo, cheaper combo, and honestly, I'd rather have this on board than the other card any day of the week.
Yeah.
And next up, we've got Vin Smoke Reju. Is a 2-cost, 2,000 power with 1,000 counter. This is going to be the mini version once again. So it's going to have that activate main, put this card in the trash, and then you can play the 4-cost Vin Smoke Reju upgraded version from your hand or trash. That is going to be this 4-cost version. It's going to be Vin Smoke Reju, a 4-cost, 5,000 power with 1,000 counter once again. And on play, if you have less Dawn on your field or equal Dawn on your field as your opponent, and you have 5 or fewer cards in your hand, this card is just going to draw you 2 cards outright. This card is insanely powerful. Very strong card.
Huge draw power for not honestly for a decent stat line. It's not terrible, right? You definitely want to play this card if you have it and you can activate its effect. But cards like this, like obviously we know purple's gonna draw a lot, especially with the Dawn minus. You get an extra draw with the purple leader. Cards like that one blue card that we already went over. It's a judge, right? Shuffle your hand into the deck, draw 5. So we're gonna see how effective this is, and maybe that's the only one matchup where it's like it could get a little sketchy, but this card is amazing.
I mean, yeah, drawn 2 is always going to be good. Even if that is a very prevalent card, you need to force them to have it. Like, if you use this at 5 cards with your leader, this draws you 2, and your leader draws you another one, so you go 5 to 8 with 1 Dawn minus effect, which is insane. Especially for the fact that you can play this for 2 if you already have it in your trash. Sounds really, really strong.
Yeah, insane.
Next up, we've got El Drago. Is a 5-cost, 7,000 power with 1,000 counter. Just your typical vanilla 5/7 with the film archetype.
Interesting.
I know. I mean, purple film obviously with the new Uta and Dofi runs film cards. I don't think we'd be running a 5/7 vanilla though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we're definitely straying away more from that vanilla archetype, like a Whitebeard kind of play, where you just play these big bodies because of Sakazuki and its ability to just blow up. Honestly, it doesn't matter what the cost is; it's just getting blown up.
Yeah, you're gonna need some on-play effects that give you some value because the body's probably disappearing after you get back to your turn. Next up, speaking of a body that does something on play, this card is going to be another 5/6 Guild to Sora with some draw power. This one is going to have 1,000 counter, and on play you can do Dawn -1. And if your leader is a film type, you can add 2 film characters from your trash with a cost of 4 or less to your hand that are film. So just the 5/6, it's going to draw you 2 on play. From your trash, by the way. So you can choose these cards if they're already in there, and you can pick the exact 2 cards that you want. Sounds incredible, honestly. This card is a fantastic addition for the film type.
Yeah, I mean, it can be 2/2Ks, it can be Utas, it can be, just a wide variety of cards that you can get, you're the Searcher. There's so many, options to be able to play this. I think this card is definitely going to be seen in purple film decks 100%.
Yeah, I mean, if you somehow we're still playing Gerpal Dofi in OP06, I mean, you can grab like a Nami and a Brook and then do the combo. Like, this card is going to be insane in any deck that runs a film engine for sure. And next up, we've got Kozeto. Is a 1-cost 0 with a 1,000 counter. Interesting. Thought it would be a 2K. Let's see what it does. It is going to be if your leader has Germa 66 characteristic, the only one right now being Reiju, and the number of Dawn on your field is 2 or fewer than your opponent. So you have to be a little bit lower than your opponent. This character is going to get blocker. A 1-cost blocker with 1,000 counter. This is what we're going for with a condition. I don't think this card. This card is not necessary. You just don't like. I don't think you're feeding from blockers that you'd ever run this.
Yeah, it's like give it a 1/1, make it blocker. There's no point for that condition, to be honest.
Yeah.
Again, it's a common card, so it's probably one of those cards where they just fill her in, knowing that it won't see too much play.
Yep, 100%. Next up, we've got Shiki. Going to be a 2-cost, 1,000 power and 1,000 counter blocker once again. And it is going to be on play. If you have 8 or more Dawn in your field, you can draw 1 card and discard 1 card. So a 2/1 blocker that you can play in the late game that's going to cycle your hand. It seems honestly decent in a ton of purple decks.
Yeah, now this blocker I can get behind. This feels like something you would definitely want to run. Especially late game when you maybe need to see a card and you can play this. Now you have not only a blocker that your opponent has to deal with, but you also get to cycle a card that you don't need. Maybe it's a break and you need a 2K, or if you're searching for a certain card. I like it. This definitely seems strong.
Yeah, not to mention film searchable for film Uta or any
Mm-hmm.
film deck that needs any low cost blockers. Next up, we've got Zephyr. Honestly, probably one of the most interesting cards of this set. So let's check out the effect. It is going to be a 7-cost, 7,000 power, film and navy type card. Going to be on play, Dom -1. You can negate the effects of one of your opponent's characters this turn. And then after that, if that character's power is 5,000 or less, you can KO it. So a purple KO effect based on power. This is the first purple KO effect based on power I think we've ever gotten. And also, not to mention, the first ability negation effect in the entire game. So if you guys don't really understand how that would work, this is going to remove any keywords, any text on a card, and basically just make them as is,
Vanilla.
right? So Borsellino, for example, this card is going to destroy Borsellino, by the way, is a 4-cost, 5,000 power that gains 1,000 power on your opponent's turn. Playing this card is going to say, okay, not only is that 1,000 power not there anymore because your card text is not there, so you're just a 5K. Now you can be KO'd by effects, so that is going away. You're not a blocker anymore either, and this card is just going to KO it on play as it KOs a 5,000 or less on play.
Yeah, which is super strong. I like this card. This card is amazing.
Going to be a very interesting tech card in the future here. And film searchable. Film Uta looking better by the day.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Batora something. I don't like the English translation, but it's going to be a 2-cost, 3,000 power, and 1,000 counter. And on play, Dom -1, you can play up to 2 of your... Okay, you can rest up to 2 of your opponent's characters with cost 2 or less. So, obviously, if they like blocker up with some low-cost blockers, for 2, you can rest 2 of them. Seems okay. Honestly, though, I don't think this is getting played in any deck ever.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just having to play it and Don -1 is kind of brutal for such a pretty shitty effect, if we're being honest.
This is like not making an impact at all unless we run into a meta where like a lot of decks are running really low cost blockers. Like the best decks now are running like around 4-cost blockers, like Sakazuki with Borsellino, Rebecca, etc. So,
Or like if Log comes back to tier 1,
sure.
Red Green Law, then it's like, okay, yeah, maybe we can protect some of these in.
Yeah, this deck would indeed cook Red Green Law. That is true. Next up, we've got another Kitt Kamzo card. Going to be Killer under his Wano disguise. A 4-cost, 5,000 power with 2,000 counter. Good to know there. And a Supernova searchable, Kid Pirate searchable, and a Smile type card. So he's going to be on your turn once per turn. When Dawn in your field is returned to the Dawn deck, you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 2 or less.
All right, so forget that I said that we can run the other card to kill Red Green Law. Just run this. Just run this.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, if you're running a purple deck with a ton of Dom minus effects, this guy is going to just churn out those KOs every single turn. Not to mention, in Zephyr, this guy goes crazy.
Yeah, I like this card. This card's great.
Yep, cool card. I don't think it's going to be any meta-defining, but kind of cool if you want to run some interesting decks. Next up, we've got Color Mixing Bug. Not sure if that is a great translation, but we're going to go with it. This is a 4-cost main event, and it is going to read, if the number of Dawn in your field is less than or equal to your opponent's Dawn, you can place up to one of your opponent's cost 5 or less characters at the bottom of the deck. So another purple bottom deck is very interesting. And also very strong. Not to mention the trigger is going to be placed up to one of your opponent's characters that costs a 4 or less at the bottom of its owner's deck. A very strong trigger, not to mention. But so a 4-cost bottom deck of 5. This is literally purple 3,000 Worlds for the most part with the condition.
Yeah, so I just don't like how every single one of these purple cards are just having conditions. It's like, and then red, and blue just get, boom, just do the effect.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. We're talking about two great colors, and purple definitely a color that's definitely been put on the back burner, right? So we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, this card's good. The trigger's good. The trigger's good too. So at least the trigger's very good. So
yeah. Also, I mean, in the Germa archetype, I think you're always going to be at less than your opponent. So I think this is always going to be online. But
yeah.
5 is a perfect stat line to hit. So I think this card could be played. We will see. Next up, we've got Germa 66. That is the name of the card. It is going to be a 1-cost, the main event. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Reveal 1 card with Germa 66 characteristics other than this card and add it to your hand. Then put the rest at the bottom. So a 1-cost searcher event, similar to Whitebeard Pirate event or anything like that. These are ran, but they're obviously always going to be weaker than the character versions. Like, they don't have counter and they don't give you a body on board. And then the trade-off is they give you a trigger, but that is not a good trade-off at the end of the day. So, but I think this deck, as we've seen with all the moving parts, and that
is going to need it.
Yeah, you need one to grab the other and all this stuff. So you might just genuinely need to run this card.
Yeah, I mean, I played Zoro in set 3, and you had your Ezo searcher, you had your Buggy searcher, you had the Dawn searcher. So you were just blessed to be able to search top 5 every single time, and apply so much pressure by having so many bodies on board. That's why you wouldn't see decks like that run any events that are searchers. But like you're saying, this deck, as we can see, is going to need a lot of cards and have them all at the same time in the right moment. And so if you need a search, I think it's going to be forced for a deck like that to run this.
Definitely probably going to need this. And last up here, we've got Germa Kingdom. Is going to be a stage card for Germa and is going to be activate main. You can discard 1 card from your hand and rest the stage. And then you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal a character with Germa and add it to your hand, and then put the rest at the bottom of the deck. So this is basically a carbon copy of a ton of searching stages that we found, like the Revolutionary Army HQ, Impo Down, and Magellan Archetype. Basically just a repeatable search effect every single turn that requires you to discard a card. Another one that honestly we might need to run. This also, not to mention, trashes one of the cards from your hand. And if you want to, suit up from the trash, this can actually set that up for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really personally like running events. Like, the one deck that needs the event is Rebecca. I'm not sure too much on 05 and 06 on how many decks actually do run, or not events, stages.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like I said, we can theory craft some decks up and see the potential of something like this being ran and see how necessary it is, because sometimes you don't have enough power to see the cards that you need, and so sometimes you got to run something like this. But we'll end up seeing what happens. These cards are going to be released very soon, and I'm excited to see what happens in Asia. All right, Pirates, thank you guys so much for watching and staying until the end of this video. That is it for purple. We are now at the last 2 colors, which is black and yellow. I hope you guys can stay tuned for that. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. We're so close to 2,000 subscribers. Hopefully by the end of the series, we will reach that goal. And like this video, comment down below, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.